Welcome to a crew tech for Yanlaw the Spirit Walker. This is not a tutorial in general on how to play Yanlaw, but rather a focus onto a specific Yanlaw build. Or a Yanlaw game plan, you could say actually. So Yanlaw 2 has a reliquary upgrade that gives the wearer, the equipped model, the bonus action Guarding Spirit. This bonus action will allow, obey, Yanlaw to take a action that is somehow targeting a model within 3 inches. So basically making Yanlaw do an obey action or a twist reality attack action. One of those. But the amazing part here is that you can also send this ability away to a different model. With a normal tactical action that also comes with every reliquary upgrade, a new guardian. Which is basically giving this upgrade to a new model within 6 inches. That means we should read Yanlaw's Spirit Guide. Once per activation after a friendly retainer minion or soul porter attaches a reliquary upgrade, draw a card. In MALIFAUX you wanna have these really big, beefy, strong henchmen models that can punch hard, use Soulstones, take damage and basically deliver your crew towards a victory. But with Yanlaw and the tricks I've showcased here, you can make every minion basically draw you a card and give you an Yanlaw action on every minion activation. The basic plan with every one of your minions is to make a walk action or a charge action, basically some form of general move effect that is going to move and teleport Yanlaw with you to a key position where you need him to be. Then make the bonus action to make Yanlaw make an either obey or shoot attack, and then make a new guardian activation, tossing the upgrade to a minion that haven't yet activated. With this, you're basically making a walk action for Yanlaw and a card draw effect and a Yanlaw attack action with every minion you have in your crew. In other words, it doesn't really matter what kind of minions you have as long as you have a lot of them, preferably really cheap, because the more minions you have, the more card draw and the more Yanlaw activations. Basically what you're gaining here is a very high quality of your cards in your hand as you're drawing a lot of cards, but secondary as well, a lot of obey actions or twist reality actions. When you're making your twist reality actions attacks against your enemies, you might need to be quite close to them because you only can attack something at 3 inches away from Yanlaw, so he will mostly be in the front lines, but we'll get to that later in the video. Because right now we have to talk about Ghost Eater. Ghost Eater is a new model shared between Reva the Luminary and Yanlaw. It has an ability in the spirit world. At the start of this model's activation, it may discard a card to summon a ghost light within 3 inches of itself. In other words, increasing your minion count. Now I would like to point out that the ghost lights are mindless, so you can't actually activate them now, but you can toss the reliquary upgrade on them, so basically the Ghost Light minion that is mindless, recently summoned, can't activate is usually the last model to receive the Yanlaw reliquary upgrade, which will give you a card draw. And that is going to be the first model to activate in the Yanlaw circle, but we will be talking about that later in the video. What you basically get here is a mini model, an enforcer that can summon more minions to basically during the match increase the Yanlaw potential. Ghost Eater also have a bonus action Instill Youth, and that ability has a tome trigger that is going to summon another ghost light, also giving your model 2 irreducible damage, which means that you're mostly going to, at this round 1, activate, discard a card, summon a ghost light. Great. Then you're going to use your bonus action on, let's say, Manos, that has regeneration 2, so you're going to negate the entire loss of damage. So Manos will take 2 damage by you cheating Fate to gain the tome trigger to summon a secondary ghost light. Perfect, we have increased the minion count by 2, which means that in next round we're going to increase the card draw capacity by 2 and 2 more Yanlaw activations. And then you're activating Manos later to regenerate back those 2 life you lost. And as you are usually losing your minions because your opponents are going to realize that it's very important to kill your minions, the Ghost Eater will be sitting there and just summon more during the course of the game. From this point forward, he's mostly going to sit back in the backlines firing his spirit barrage, because the spirit barrage has a very important suit trigger. Dismember. Enemy, living, undead or beast only, drop a corpse marker into base contact with the target. We will get back to that soon. The corpse marker is key for something very specific. Now, he could walk around as well and try to scheme and do things like that, but he's quite slow. He has 5 moves, so he's not really efficient at running around across the map. There are better models for that, we'll talk about those soon. But Ghost Eater's job: stay back, play a supportive role by healing your models, summoning ghost lights to increase the crew's potential, while shooting spirit barrage at enemies here and there. Remember, spirit barrage will ignore friendly fire, so he doesn't really matter if you're shooting into combat. Now, if you remember, we did create corpse markers. That takes us to Toshiro, the daimyo. He has a bonus tactical action, Undying Fealty. Target a corpse marker within 6 inches. You mostly need to cheat fate on this one, but you're drawing a lot of cards in this crew, so the chance of you acquiring the key card is not that impossible. Otherwise, he's an henchman, so you can pretty much just spend a soulstone here. This is going to summon an Ashigaru with 3 life remaining, usually at 5 life, but 3 life in this case. It's going to gain slow, but you can still activate it this turn. This means that you can toss the reliquary upgrade to your newly summoned Ashigaru, and that Ashigaru can basically make either a new guardian or a walk action to transport around your Yanlo. I also remember to use the bonus action to make Yanlo take an action as well. But basically you are creating a small minion, very cheap minion summoning crew here with the Ghost Eater and Toshiro. You're basically summoning 2 minions per round. Well, actually you're summoning 3 minions per round because the Ghost Eater can actually summon 2 minions per round. But you're basically increasing your minion count drastically, quite fast and efficiently. Once this gets going, it will lead to an enormous amount of card draw and an enormous amount of Yanlo actions. You're mostly going to do like obey actions, or move Yanlo into some form of close combat with an enemy and he can just shoot twist reality ongoingly on it. And suddenly your small, cheap 2 soulstones and 5 soulstone minions are really scary. So far, so good, but there are 2 more things we can do here, 2 different optional tweaks of direction that we can take this. The first one is the out of keyword Restless Spirit in Resurrectionist. This is a Reva model. This is basically a ghost with a big tombstone that can, with a bonus action, summon or drop, a corpse marker. It is very key to have this model if you want to use Toshiro to summon an Ashigaru on round 1, because you don't really have a corpse marker on round 1 without it. In my experience, having this model in your crew is basically allowing you to have an Ashigaru summoned at round 1, and from that point onward the Restless Spirit doesn't do that much, because in my experience the Ashigarus are usually being killed because the enemy is realizing that these Ashigarus are really scary because they are resulting into like twist reality attack actions. That's very dangerous. So the enemy needs to kill these Ashigarus, and when the Ashigaru dies, they are dropping a corpse marker. So once the engine, the corpse marker production has started, it just stays around. You don't really need to create more corpse markers in general. So what I usually do with my Restless Spirit is that it just runs away trying to scheme and such. So if you really want to summon an Ashigaru at round 1, you should hire the Restless Spirit. However, you could just hire an Ashigaru, which might be better, because the Ashigaru and the Restless Spirit are both 5 Soulstones, but the Ashigaru will synergize with the entire Yanlo concept. It can still run around and scheme, just as much as the Restless Spirit can, but probably better, because it can make walk and then teleport Yanlo to a very far away position, make bonus action, and Yanlo makes the obey on the Ashigaru to make the Ashigaru take an interact action. This is a model we have not summoned. This is an Ashigaru we hired at the start of the game, which means that this Ashigaru, not being insignificant, can make interact actions. So if you really want to use Toshiro's ability to summon an Ashigaru on round 1, my recommendation and personal experience is don't hire the Restless Spirit, just hire an Ashigaru instead, and just skip the first round. And when this Ashigaru will die, you can just use your Toshiro to summon a Ashigaru from that corpse marker. But you are going to generate corpse marker usually around round 2 with your Ghost Eater, because your Ghost Eater has a range 12 with its gun. You just need to shade Fate to get the proper suit to create a corpse marker, and then your corpse marker production has basically started. It's very hard to make your first corpse marker with Ghost Eater on round 1, theoretically possible, but still you also need to get your Toshiro close to that corpse marker that's probably far away. So in the end, you're going to start summoning your Ashirus at round 2 with your Toshiro. But I recommend, if you really want to have an Ashiru summoned at round 1, just hire one instead. But there's a step 2 to this logic. We are not going to hire any Ashigarus. We'll get to that soon. There's another model, a very key one we need to talk about. Meow! Okay, it's very hard to pronounce this one. Kama-ichai something. Cat. Demon Oni Cat. This is a model out of keyword inside 10 Thunders from Asami. It has a very cool passive ability, Wonder Vessel. Once per activation, after a model is summoned, you may draw a card. If it was a friendly summon model, you have to discard a card. As we are mostly summoning 2 models every single round, something around 2 models, now we're going to summon 2 models inside the same activation of Ghost Eater, so that will just be 1 trigger. But when Toshiro is also summoning a model, that will be a secondary trigger. So you're usually going to trigger it once on round 1 and triggering twice at round 2. And that means that you're card filtering, you're drawing cards and discarding bad cards. You're basically improving your hand size, which is rather good, considering that this is starting to be a focused summoning crew. But it will trigger on every summoning, even your enemy ones. And when an enemy is summoning a model, you actually get to keep the card. And MALIFAUX currently have been focusing a little bit more on summoning very cheap minion models. Give and take on that one, but if you look around on a lot of newer models, a lot of them are summoning models, so to say. Usually cheaper ones, like the new Pandora. The new Pandora is summoning minions. Perdita, the version 2 Perdita is summoning minions. 10 Thunders, you're currently playing this Minako Ray, a versatile model from Last Blossom. She is also summoning models, and currently a lot of 10 Thunder crews are including her because she's just very good. Actually, you should probably potentially consider playing her as well, maybe. I mean, you're starting to summon a lot of minions, and if you're including the cat, you're increasing the synergy somewhat. But the chance the cat is going to give you a trigger and give you a card draw from your enemies is rather likely, depending on. The cat is also quite good at fighting. Now, the cat is insignificant, so you can't really run around and scheme with it. That would make it very strong and really good, but it can remove its own flicker tokens, which means that it somewhat has focused every single round, like 1 focus. Well, you can actually increase the flicker count a little bit more, up to 2, because when it kills models, it will lose flicker tokens as well. But in general, in my experience, for a 5 Soulstone model, it's 4, but 5 because out of keyword, it's going to fight pretty well. It has an inbuilt trigger to move its little hazardous marker, which means it can damage more models than just 1. Considering that it's also moving and making a secondary damage with a hazardous token, it's kinda good versus armor. That is your core structure. You're basically playing Ghost Eater, usually Toshiro, and then maybe the cat. And depending on what you feel like, if you're feeling that no, your opponent isn't really going to summon any models, you can skip the cat. But if you're feeling that your opponents are going to summon a lot of models, you can include the cat, because the cat is going to trigger on your enemy and as well as yourself. And then you're building a critical mass, you're sitting back, focusing on your enemies, on your models I mean, and putting upgrades on your minions so that your Yanlo can make obey actions on them, and then you're just preparing yourself for an army against your enemy. You're once again building up the first round, not really rushing towards the enemy the first round. You're basically sculpting your hand with all the card art that you have into a good hand for round 2 while building minions for round 2. Once you get into round 2, the usual play pattern is to spread out on a long line, because these minions can toss the responsibility of guarding Yanlo between them. But you need to make like a long line where all minions are somewhat 6 inches next to each other. And it's very important that you don't break the line. They need to reach the next person in responsibility. This will basically mean that Yanlo is going from one side of your crew to the other side of your crew, just jumping from model to model, drawing a card and thus shooting twist reality. It actually has a very cool effect. It really looks like Yanlo is flying across the backline of your entire crew and just shooting things and drawing cards while doing so. It has a very cool effect, and it's very common that on round 2 you have moved him from one side of the map to the other side of the map. When I'm playing Yanlo, I'm usually spreading out in a long line towards facing my enemy forward. This takes us to scheme runners, but also other minions. 10 Thunders have 2 minions that you can hire that are very good. They have an ability Empty Vessel, which is increasing their move by 2 inches and giving them bonus flips on every duel, making them incredibly mobile, meaning that they can travel across the map quite far. Except if they have the Yanlo upgrade on them, because with the Yanlo upgrade they have made a nerf removing the ignoring the empty vessel, I should actually say. So you want to move them when Yanlo isn't attached to them. Okay, sometimes you actually do that just because you really need to move Yanlo, but when you do, they run a little bit shorter. But you can basically make make the Yanlo take an action, make an interact on them, and then toss the responsibility of Yanlo away, making all of your models into something of like a scheme runner kinda easily. Because once again, Yanlo cannot make an interact action himself, but he can obey the model that ordered Yanlo to take an action. It kinda looks kinda weird, but the minion is telling Yanlo to take an action, and Yanlo is telling the minion back to take an action. Yeah, but that's how it works. But you are getting a very adaptive crew, a crew that can play very globally, across the mat, spread out quite far. You need to have some form of connection between them, like a 6 inches connection between all the minions, but you can still spread out quite efficiently, or you can focus everything down into one spot, making all your minions swarm a bigger minion and just toss around Yanlo's responsibility and making him shoot into combat. His twist reality is ignoring friendly fire, so shooting into combat, not a problem. Also, if you're going up against some model with a lot of armor, twist reality is ignoring armor and incorporeal, so those 2 defensive techs are worthless, making Yanlo a very good killer against heavy armor or incorporeal enemies. The crew also have a lot of healing. You have a Manos, usually Manos is a really good minion, a henchman that you should hire, and his upgrade is something that is also giving you regeneration. The Ghost Eater also has that bonus action, Instill Youth, that is healing, that is mostly going to be used throughout the course of the game, every single round, either to summon ghost lights or heal your models. But summoning models is also healing, as you are increasing the overall crew's total health count. Normally in MALIFAUX you don't really need to worry or kill the summoned models, because you just need to kill the summoner and then the production is ended. Like, summoned models can't really interact with the strategy, so you don't really need to kill them. But in Yanlo's case, these models can indirectly interact with the main strategy, and they are very scary as they are each drawing a card on each activation and each making a Yanlo action. Let me explain how they actually are working with the strategy. Position your Manos at the key position for your strategy. Let's say that he needs to stand on an objective and just do something there. So you leap, and then you walk, and then he shoots his spirit barrage, so you're not wasting his actions on useless interact actions. But now Manos is standing on a key position. He has extended reach, a very good defensive tech, so if he's charged, he's negating that effect. He also has regeneration, so he's quite durable. And he's a henchman, he can use Soulstones. So position your Manos just on point on this important strategy, and then he's not interacting, he is just standing there. Move your Ghost Light close to Manos, teleport your Yanlo 3 inches within Manos, and then use your Obey action, or first the Ghost Light's activation using the bonus action to make Yanlo take an action, and then Yanlo is using Obey on Manos. If Manos doesn't have a reliquary upgrade, usually doesn't, you have to usually cheat Fate to make sure that the Obey action gets a success, and then you tell Manos to make an interact action. So Manos is not the one making the interact action, it is theoretically the Ghost Light that is a summoned model making the interact action in a trick. In other words, you're just getting a very, very high action economy. But you have more toolboxing tricks. You see, you have a lot of different upgrades that you can purchase by basically hiring different models and using Yanlo to equip your various different upgrades to various other minions. And the key structure isn't really that expensive. You need the Ghost Eater, in my opinion, he's an auto-include regardless of whatever game plan you have with your Yanlo, and then Toshiro is 9 Soulstones. If you want to hire the cat, that's 5 more. So 8 plus 9, 17, plus 5, 23. You have more than half remaining. And you can skip the cat. The cat is really good if you believe that your opponent is going to have a summoner. Then you're just sitting with 8 plus 9 equal 17. So now you have a lot of Soulstones to do whatever you want. And just from these 17 Soulstones, you're getting an enormous high amount of action economy, you're going to increase your health on your total crew by summoning models, and you're going to be able to spread out wider with your crew as your minions can spread out on various different directions and make Yanlo, sometimes even Yanlo is taking interact actions far away across the battlefield on his own activation, so to say, but you're getting a very high quality action basically. This is one of my favorite crews. I really like the concept of just making an enormous machine. You're basically building a factory. Ghost Eater and Toshiro is just sitting there and producing actions for your crew and increasing your tricks that you can do. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys, and I would love to give a big shout out to my patrons for supporting this kind of stuff. Big thank you, patrons, for your support. That's it, guys. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.